As I'm sure some of you guys have seen, Steak the Man has finally released a new episode for his fundamental paper education infection AU called Basic in Survival, or aka the Vitality AU. Now, you guys know that I don't react to videos very often, but this one's only 2 minutes, so let's go ahead and look at it together. Already, the animation style, I love it. I think I've mentioned that before. That hand is super creepy. I'm assuming this is Claire, but we'll see as we get deeper in. The school still looks like crap. I mean, bodies been dragged around. Somebody's hiding in that vent. Love little details. Somebody's in there, but it's hard to tell who it is. So in the editor, I'll have to go in and like lighten that up. So with this as well, has to be something in this room. Abby, of course. Nobody's surprised that he got body. I mean, every one of these AUs, he, clapped up. Not a lot of little details. You see, oh, Chip is alive. Come on, buddy. I don't know why he has a fish. I think he always has a fish, though. I don't know what that is with his story, but the fish is more worried than he is, though. Okay, somebody's walking around in the back there. I didn't get a good look, though. You're cooked. At least they can make a joke about being eaten alive, Oh, definitely don't go in there. That room is covered in gore, brother. Oh. And Chip doesn't even know that this thing is following him. I got to figure out who that is. There's no shot you're going into the room. Come on, buddy. You got to be smarter than this. That's a death right there. Okay, maybe he is going in. Let's see. I'm assuming this is his sister, right? Oh, he looks so scared. It's definitely his sister. There we go. He wouldn't have hugged anybody else, you would think, right? Something seems off, though. Maybe it's not his sister. Oh, man. Oh, there goes the fish. Rip, little dude. Something's in this little music room. Is this the exit? This is not the exit. What the heck? This dude doesn't look scared at all, though. I wonder if we're seeing something different than what he's seeing. Yeah, they're just walking into this room of eyeballs. Apparently, brother's the Punisher. No fear. Huh. Now that we kind of understand what's going on here, let's see if we can get to the analysis and kind of compile all the videos that we have to see if we can get the lore down. Now, some of you may remember in the first video Stick released, we saw Zip walking through the hallway, and I predicted that she was looking for her little brother, or aka Chip. And I was happy to see that this little dude has somehow managed to stay unharmed in this school full of monsters. Something I want to point out is that in this video, we're actually seeing more infected wandering around the hallways and like actually eating people. The first example of that is we see Riley, and although it's kind of hard to make out in the darkness here, she seems to be feeding on Oliver. And if Atlas is still alive, I can imagine that this won't go over well, so I'm interested to see how this plays out later. After that, we see Chip turn a corner and our little fish buddy starts to panic, and this is because it notices infected Claire is basically stalking them. Although for whatever reason, Chip seems to be unaware and seemingly unbothered by all the gore around the school. And eventually he makes it to like the front of this dark door, and before he actually can walk in, we see someone sneaks up behind him, and of course it's his sister. And while he's relieved to see her, something feels off here. Our first hint that something is off was the fact that the fish started panicking as soon as Zip came into sight. And the second hint was the look that we get here as Zip is leading Chip away. I mean, this dude looks absolutely terrified with his eye almost bulging out of his head. And based on the reflection here, I think that while Chip sees his sister, Zip is actually an infected at this point, which is why her body seems to be distorted and elongated in this reflection here. Also, as they're walking here, we can see that Zip's face is scribbled over, which I think implies that she's no longer herself and has been corrupted or aka infected. And I think the fact that the infected in the dark room here completely ignores Zip and Chip while attacking the fish adds to this idea for me. In the final scene, we see Zip walk her brother to a door that seems to be filled with infected characters. But trusting his sister, Zip doesn't seem to be afraid and walks into the darkness hand in hand with her. And while we're left on a bit of a cliffhanger here, I'm assuming that this means that Chip is going to be infected because he's walking into a room of infected. And that's the best case scenario. Most likely, he's just going to be devoured. Now, I also want to cover a few smaller details. Like at the start of this video, we see somebody start the music here, and I'm going to believe that this is likely Claire. I say this because she's one of the infected that we actually saw roaming the halls the most, usually like peeking around corners and looking at Chip. And simply because the other infected that we seen have different body types than what Claire seems to have. But I'll talk about those other two in a moment here. Next, I want to point out that we see this hat poking up from behind a fallen locker, and I believe that this belongs to Robbie, likely meaning that he's also been taken out as well, and possibly even dragged away, considering that we see this trail of gore leading down the hallway. Now, I know that many of you probably thought that something was going on in this dark classroom here, but when I started using my light tool and my editor, this room actually seems to be completely empty, except for this figure right here. But it's hard to tell if this is actually somebody, especially considering that they're not moving at all. For a brief moment, we also see another infected walking the halls here, and I actually think that this may be Miss Bloomy. Unfortunately, we don't get a really good look at the body, but from what we see, it reminds me of this image here. And this is, of course, the image that the creator put up of infected Miss Bloomy. And finally, we get to see this dark classroom as well, but this one actually has an infected moving around inside. And I think that this is the creature that we saw at the end of the last video. And while we still don't have clarification for who this infected is, because it could be Miss Circle, it could be Davil, it could even be like Ingle, what we do know is that just like in that video I just showed, this guy is huge, so we can assume that it's probably that same infected. Now, unfortunately, this wasn't a very long update, so I feel like we didn't get a lot of new information or lore about the world. But when looking back at some of the older videos, we have this one right here that basically told us that this virus has gone worldwide. It's not just isolated to this school. So since we know that Stick the Man is going to continue to update this series, I'm hoping that as we move forward, we get to see more of the outside and how it's affecting this universe as a whole, and more importantly, where some of these other characters are, because I know that Alice is still alive, if nobody else, and I'm curious to see if some of the teachers survived as well. The last thing I'll say about this is that I hope that Zip and Chip's story doesn't end like this, because if Chip just walked to his death because he trusted his sister, that would be so anticlimactic. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video on the screen here. Subscribe today to become a member of the Orseofkorse, and we will see you next time with another video. Peace, peace.